Hey guys, welcome back to New York Comic Con up here in the Newsarama Skybox. I'm Justin Tyler.
I'm Grace Randolph.
And we're here with Justin Jordan talking about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, really interesting. You say you came here from a small town in Pennsylvania that's very unique.
Yes, I come from an extremely small town in Pennsylvania, which it has 42 people. So the skybox here could probably accommodate my entire town.
But that's not all.
Yeah. No, that's not the unique part. The unique part is that they are all related to me in some fashion. They are all kind of extended cousins and that sort of thing. So yeah, my extended family from like 4 or 5 generations back kind of became the town.
I think there might be a creator-owned book just waiting right there.
So did they all buy your comic?
No.
Where do you get your comics?
Yeah, my local comic book shop is like an hour and some change away from me. It's actually, I went to school in Shippensburg, PA, and which is a little over an hour away from where I'm actually from, and I still go to the comic book shop down that way. But honestly, the only other real comic shop that's near me would be like State College anyhow, and it's pretty much the same distance. So yeah.
So you gotta really want it.
Yeah. I do.
Your fandom cost you more than ours.
You know, well, it's interesting, or not, that when I was a kid, you could get comics everywhere.
Right.
You could get them in gas stations, convenience stores, grocery stores, all that kind of stuff. And it was like Marvel and DC and stuff. Yeah. And so if it were not for that, I probably would not be into comics. Yeah. So if I were born now, like, comics would probably not be a thing for me.
Well, just be the mayor of your town.
Yes, probably.
The mayor of your family.
I would be Mayor Jordan.
Well, you have the internet now, you know.
That's true. So the internet counterbalances that.
You gotta hold them. So you're working on New Guardians.
I am.
Right now, the Lights Out crossover is happening.
Which is good.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Lights Out is about a being from the previous universe managed to survive the death of his universe, and he attributes the death of his universe to that version's, the Lightsmiths is what it's called, and they were their versions of the Lanterns. And he thinks they drained the emotional energy out of the universe that keeps the universe running. And he wakes up in this universe and believes that the same thing is happening. So he is meaning to stop all the Lanterns from using up the power and ending the universe. And the problem is, he might be right.
Yeah.
Ooh, awkward.
Yeah.
And your book focuses on Kyle Rayner, right?
Yes.
What do you like about him as a Lantern?
I like that he has that artistic background. Both John and Hal come from military backgrounds, respectively, and of course John has kind of the architect thing going on, so there's a little bit of a mixture there. But that fundamentally has shaped their mindset in a different kind of way, whereas Kyle, just being an artist and not having a military background, not having a background in force, uses his powers differently and sees the universe differently. And I think that's interesting to try to contrast that with how the Green Lanterns have kind of rolled.
Is it hard to come up with ideas? I mean, because he can
For the
literally
constructs?
Well, he can literally do anything.
Yeah.
No, I've said this, like, I've mentioned this before in interviews, so anybody that's out there that's read interviews with me, you can probably just fast forward through this part. But
no, never.
Yeah. We might say something interesting.
Yeah.
No, there's this idea that once you reach a certain level of power with a character, the question isn't what they can do with the power. It is what they can do with the power. It's not a matter of, like, Kyle could go to an alien planet and, like, depose an alien warlord, right? But, like, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Like, any leader, any villain, typically, unless they're just robbing banks, has an entire infrastructure around them. Like, if you're dealing with cosmic level threats, like, I'm going to go take down Darkseid. Well, you take down Darkseid, Apocalypse still sucks.
Yeah.
Like, you don't magically change Apocalypse into sunlight.
It probably gets worse, really.
Exactly.
Who's in charge?
One of the things I really liked, it was in Kingdom Come, and I don't think it made it into the original print of the comic, but he did a bit where Superman goes to talk to Orion, who has deposed Darkseid. And Apocalypse didn't get any better. And Orion was basically like, yeah, I got rid of my father and I've fallen in the same trap. Like, I can't,
That's awesome.
They can't manage these people because there's just too much of an existing culture and stuff. So for Kyle, the problem isn't what he can do with his ring, because he can essentially do anything with it. It's how to use that power to make things better without just completely overwhelming people's free will and stuff. You could conceivably make them do what you want, but that's not really a better solution.
Well, having so much power gives him infinite options, so it's like he has to sift through thousands of ideas rather than just like, well, I can punch stuff.
Exactly.
So that's my solution.
Yeah. So
artistically,
it's trickier. It's trickier for me as a writer because he has all that, and that's the dilemma for Kyle as well. Is you've got all this power, how do you use it effectively?
Well, what do you have any plans for coming up after the crossover?
Yeah. I've got really solid, detailed plots out through issue 30 right now.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we're basically doing a two-story arc, a 2-issue arc, right now that Brad's drawing, which is about Kyle goes to a planet where Everything seems to be perfect. It's basically a utopia. And what he finds out is that they've basically been stealing the good futures from other timeline versions of their planet. And so the question for him is, what, if anything, does he do about that?
Yeah.
Which is not really a spoiler. That's all in the solicit, amazingly enough.
Wow.
Dense solicits.
Yeah, and then we've got a one-issue story about that, which is about kind of war profiteering on a sci-fi scale. And then we've got a 3-issue arc that's, in my head, is titled "The God Killers." I don't know if that will be the actual title of the arc. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm enjoying it. So
Feels like it has a real sci-fi sort of space.
Yeah.
Big epic, not a lot of superhero crossover type stuff.
no, I've tried to make it. I wanted to make it more a sci-fi cosmic kind of a book, and less
With
of a
some political undertones.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that stuff interests me. So,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping it will interest the readers as well. And honestly, a character who's traveling to different planets, it's kind of like Star Trek. You have this ability, since you're traveling to different worlds, you can imagine different cultures, different political systems, different problems, and then have your base character interact with them. So I've tried to do that with the New Guardians going forward. We will get back into it. We will go crossover with obviously other books again. And there'll be some standard superheroic stuff, but the book has enough scope to do both.
Awesome.
And that's what I like about Kyle. I feel like he's my favorite Green Lantern. Slightly unpopular opinion, except for maybe with you. But I feel like because of his artistic background, a lot of his stories over the years have gone into different odd places. There's an annual that I really loved where he goes into a painting.
Yeah.
And I thought like that's why he's my favorite, because it's a wider.
Yeah, and
wider
it's one of
scope.
those things where he's got a personality that lets you tell different types of stories and stuff. Because to my mind, like, if Hal Jordan were presented with some of these problems, Hal's a very straightforward go-getter kind of guy, and he would just try to smash it down.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not how Kyle acts. That's not how Kyle thinks. So it's a different kind of storytelling involved with Kyle, which I really enjoy. I'm
Did you start out as a Kyle fan?
No, I mean, I didn't dislike Kyle, but John Stewart is my Green Lantern just for the sheer fact, it's funny. It's just that John Stewart was the Green Lantern I saw when I was a kid, when I was supposed to wear Green Lantern, and that kind of sets up for a lot of people who your version of that character is. So for me, it's been John Stewart. But I liked Kyle back in the day, and I'm really enjoying writing him now. And a lot of the fans have really enjoyed how I'm writing him, which is gratifying. So yeah, the Kyle fans have seemed to be generally happy with the approach so far.
That's awesome. So let's talk about some of your other stuff. You have a book coming out called Dead Body Road.
I do.
From Skybound.
I do, with Matteo Scalera.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's about a guy whose wife gets killed during a heist, and he goes to kill everyone involved with it, and it rapidly gets much, much worse than that as everybody's varying agendas start crashing into each other. So it's fun. I love crime. Crime is probably what I read the most of in my fiction reading. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of like James Lee Burke and Elmore Leonard and George Pelecanos, writers like that. So I've wanted to do crime stuff for a while, but it's kind of a hard sell in comics and stuff. So Skybound gave me an opportunity to do it. And then Matteo was on board, so, he's awesome. So it's terrific.
And you had a big announcement at the convention.
I had a relatively big announcement at the convention that I'm doing.
We're calling it big.
I'm doing a creator-owned book from Avatar called Redshift, which is basically, it's a reasonably hard sci-fi book that's set in the future where basically we've managed to colonize most of the moons in the solar system. They don't have faster than light travel, so it takes weeks to get out to them and weeks to get back. And we basically, most of the planets in the solar system are uninhabitable, even with work. But Mars, some of the moons, we manage it. Because of that, there are hundreds of thousands of different little polities, like mini countries. And because of that and jurisdiction thing, basically bounty hunters have become a thing. But since it's a job that requires you to go out for weeks at a time and spend that time with criminals, and that it tends to attract miserable people. So I've basically got the biggest bastard in the solar system tracking down bounties and bringing them back. But again, it's kind of like New Guardians, oddly enough, in that what the part that it interests me is it allows me to think of different sci-fi concepts and kind of explore them with this, vicious character kind of at the core of it. So.
Right. And so I feel like that's sort of all these little colonies on these different moons. That's like your town that you grew up in.
Yes,
essentially.
That is actually not a bad analogy. Yeah, that influences it and stuff. And it's the idea of like, you get like, say you've got 1,000 followers who believe that Ayn Rand was the cat's meow, and they go and start
Go find a moon.
Yeah, they go and find a moon, and like, how does that actually work in practical terms? Like, if you're on your own, you got to make that society work. Same way, if you want to do communism, can you make it work in a 1,000-person mini country? You know what I mean? So Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm hoping people dig it. Like, you know, it's not like so boringly political, but you know, it allows me to think about like technology and how I suspect it will evolve and how people will react with it. While also, you know, having heads chopped off and people thrown out into space. And
You gotta have that
so,
too.
Yeah, you know, you got to give people the entertainment value for all that kind of stuff too, and hopefully they will find the other stuff entertaining as well, because I do. But it's always a gamble.
That's great. And when does that come out?
Not sure. Probably summer of next year. Cool. So yeah, we're still a ways out from debuting that, but I'm working on it now. So and thoroughly enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sitting down with us.
Yeah, no problem.
You guys stay tuned for plenty more from Comic.